And welcome back, everyone, to the Pokemon Team Creation Series. Today's suggestion comes to us from Seth Xenomon Official. Asked the question, what is the Pokemon team of Jason Lee? Jason Lee Scott, I believe his full name was, aka the OG Red Ranger. And it got a little tricky because there's not a huge amount of his personality that we can use for variations in like a team, but we were able to make a team. So right out the gate, let's just get it out of the way right now. His his starter, Tyrant into Tyrantrum. Why? Because he is the Tyrannosaurus Ranger. It's like Tyrannosaurus, it's morphin' time. Go Power Rangers. Okay, but yeah, it's obviously got to be Tyrantrum for that, and it's red, so that helps out too, like a burgundy red kind of thing. After that, though, it got a little trickier because apart from one other Zord, he was in control. Well, technically two other Zords. He was in control of. Zords I couldn't use anymore. So, and I saved the last Zord for last. But he is also a expert. He's a master of karate to the point where he even teaches kids. And so I knew I needed a couple fighting types. One, I went with Sock. Why? A, because he's wearing a gi, so he seems like a karate guy in a school. Two, I went with Kung Fu. Kid still learning to become a master, and obviously he teaches kids. He likes to teach kids. So there you go. But beyond that, I also found out, and I actually didn't know this about the character, he was initially a bully like Bulk and Skull. He did eventually turn things around though, and again became a good guy, athletic, popular, teach karate, all that. So I went with Pangoro because it is kind of based off like a punk delinquent type thing, but it's also known to protect smaller, weaker Pokemon. So I think that's a good callback to his more troubled past. Now, I also put Lucario, but I made a quick executive change before I started this. I went with Mega Lucario. Now, why? Well, I need a fighting type to fill out the roster, so there's that. But B, it's kind of a bread and butter fighting type at this point for a lot of characters who just need something that's just effective, can take a lot of hits. It's a steel type, which means it can take damage, very similar to how he can take damage as he is a Power Ranger connected to the Morphing Grid. And we can connect the Morphing Grid to Lucario's aura. So I think that does ultimately work overall. But I also went with Mega Lucario because this is essentially, it's morphing time. It's Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. You can transform into a stronger form with the Power Rangers. So there you go. Last but not least, though, he was also the pilot of the Dragon, or what was it? Sorry, the Thunder Dragon Zord. And so, the only dragon Pokemon that looks even remotely close to the Thunder Dragon Zord is Rayquaza. It would be his ace, though, and he probably doesn't pull it out that often. So, I felt that was a good enough roster for Jason. But that being said, as always, how balanced is the team? Surprisingly pretty balanced. It's got a ×2 weakness and a ×2 strength against dragon types, just because of the two dragons. It's got a ×2 weakness to ice with the two dragons. It's got a ×5 weakness to fairy. The only thing resisting fairy is Lucario because of the steel typing. Ooh. It's got a ×3 weakness to fighting. The dark fighting type, the dragon rock type, and the steel type Lucario all have a weakness to fighting, unfortunately. It's got a ×3 weakness to flying with two pure flying types. Actually, the two flying types. The three fighting types. Pangoro and the two pure fighting types, Kung-Fu and Swak. And Lucario, Swak, and Sock. And Kung-Fu are weak to Psychic. On the other side of the fence, though, it's got a ×5 strength against Ice. A ×5, because the only one who's weak against Ice is Rayquaza. All the rest of them have a type that's strong against Ice. A ×4 weakness to Rock with the 4 fighting types. A ×2, not weakness, strength. Sorry, strength. A ×2 strength against Bug with the Rock type and the Flying type. A ×4 strength against fighting types. And a ×4 strength against steel types. So, how balanced is this team? How balanced is this team? Fairly balanced. How well does this team do? Honestly, you won't have, there's no one that you struggle against in Kanto, period. You're going to get through, you'll get through Brock, no problem, Misty, no problem. Misty might give a little trouble, but again, Tyrants and Dragon type resist water, so there you got that going. And it's still a Tyron at that point. Surge, little difficulty, but Swak's attack and Tyron's attack defenses should be fine. Erica's no real issue. Again, the rock typing of Tyranium is resists the grass typing, so you should be fine there. At that point, you get to Koga. You should be fully evolved on nearly every one of these, save for Kubfu. The steel type's going to give you immunity over the poison type. Sabrina may have a ×3 strength against you, but you've got both Tyrantrum, dark type that's immune to psychic, and Rayquaza. Blaine's not a big issue, honestly. Neither's Giovanni. Lorelei's not that big of an issue. Even with ×3 weaknesses, you have enough counters for the things you're weak against that they're not that big a deal. Lance isn't even that big of a deal, despite being a dragon trainer, because you have just dragons that are stronger than the Dragonairs. Tyrantrum, if I remember correctly, is flat out stronger than Dragonair. Rayquaza is stronger even than the Dragonite. And then that just leaves you with Blue, which Blue, you should be able to take care of the Pidgeot, no problem. The Alakazam, you'd struggle with to a degree, but you should be able to take it down. Then you got to deal with the Rhydon, but you got fighting types for that. And after that, you're kind of, it's a balancing act a little bit, but yeah, honestly, you should be able to become champion of Kanto, no problem. With Johto, you would have a clean sweep all the way into the Elite Four. It would be at Koga that you would struggle. Because while you have a Mega Lucario, yes, he's got a combination of bug and poison types that you don't really have a good answer for. Yeah, you got Rayquaza, and yeah, you got Tyrantrum, but he's got a Crobat, which is faster than anything you have. He's got a Fortress, which, yeah, that's a little problematic to say the least. I'm trying to think what else what is on his team. I'm actually blanking on what else is on his team. But point being, that one you would struggle a little bit with, but then you're going to get through both Bruno without too much difficulty, and you're going to get through, you'll get through Karen, no problem. It's going to be Lance that's the biggest issue, because now he's got 3 fully evolved Dragonites, plus a Gyarados, Aerodactyl, and a Charizard, which means Rayquaza and Tyrantrum are not going to be able to just steal you the win this time around. So, assuming that they both go down, which is the ones I would assume you'd say go down, and assuming you were able to take maybe one other Mon with you, probably the Gyarados, I'd be guessing, can you still beat the Aerodactyl and the Charizard with the remaining 4? Kubfu isn't really going to be playing a factor most of the times in these fights. You'll throw him out there to get whatever damage you can, and it'll go down. Swak is also not going to be, I keep saying Swak, but it's Sock. Sock is actually also not going to be very good against those two either. You'll get whatever damage you can get in on either of them, particularly Aerodactyl if you can get a close combat or something off. It's really, Mega Lucario is going to be your ace in this, I think. Pangoro can throw some attacks out, dark type attacks. It's a maybe, I think. I don't think it's a likely outcome, but it's a maybe. Hoenn, similar. You'll get all the way to the Elite Four, and then you're going to have a problem with Phoebe. While Pangoro's dark type is great, one dark type can only do so much. Otherwise, this team's not very good against ghost types. It's not weak to ghost, but it's not good against ghost. And Pangoro will only take you so far with that team. Now, with that said, you still have Tyrantrum and Rayquaza to help you out, and Mega Lucario probably will know a steel move of some kind. So it's not impossible, but it's not a good outcome. Glacia, you'll be able to take down, no problem. Okay, Drake. Drake is... I'm going to say this. Drake is not an impossibility like he is most of the other times. You can beat Drake, I think, with this team. It's not easy. Oh, it is not easy. The Flygons alone will be problematic because they have Earthquake. But the Rayquaza can make up for a lot of problems you're having. But he's also got Mega Salamence on the team, and that is still going to hit hard. It is a maybe for Drake, which leads you to Steven, who again is arguably easier than Drake because of the fighting type. Because you have 4 fighting types on the team, and Steven is a rock and steel trainer. The only issues you're going to have in terms of his team are going to be Skarmory, which is a flying steel type, Metagross, which is a psychic steel type, and then Armaldo, which is a bug rock type, which means all 3 types are going to be all 3 of those types resist the extra types, psychic, bug, and flying resist fighting. So, but the Cradily. Oh, and then there's the Claydol too, which is a ground psychic type. So it's not a clear-cut victory. The only two you can straight up take down with fighting type moves is the Cradily and the Aggron. But is it impossible? No, I would not say it's impossible. Is it likely? I don't know if I go likely. I'd say anything's possible. I put it another strong maybe. But Sinnoh, you actually are going to run into an immediate problem with the third gym, no matter what version you're playing. With Fantina, she's a ghost type gym leader, and unfortunately you will not have a Tyrantrum yet. This is problematic. Now, luckily, you should have either Crunch or Bite on Tyrunt at that point, so you should be able to hopefully beat her. But on the flip side, with just Diamond and Pearl, Mayleen's fighting types are going to be completely better than your team at this point, because it's Lucario, Machoke, and Meditite. And you got your ace is weak to fighting right now, and it's not a Tyrantrum yet. And then you just got Sock, which can only do so much on its own. It's fast and strong, but does not have great defenses. And Kubfu's just not going to be able to do it. So I just honestly don't know if you can get past Mayleen. If you could, you'll have a clean sweep through the rest of the region, honestly, on both sides of the gate, until you get all the way into the Elite Four and have to deal with Lucian and Cynthia. Because you'll honestly get through Aaron without too much difficulty, I think. Because you have rock moves, you'll have at least a rock move on Tyrantrum and a flying move with a Rayquaza. Bertha shouldn't be that big of an issue either. Neither should Flint, but the psychic team of Lucian would be a problem. Because even with Pangoro, they also have a Mr. Mime. They have Beldum, which is a steel type. Not Beldum, sorry. Bronzong, which is a steel type. It's just not. You're not in a good spot with that team. And then you got to deal with Cynthia. Now, this is one where you actually might be able to beat Cynthia with this team. She starts out with Spiritomb. You're probably leading with Tyrantrum. The problem, though, immediately is your Tyrantrum isn't going to be able to deal anything super effective because you have no strength against her team. You need a fairy type move, which you don't have anything on this team. So it's going to be a lot of back and forth. I think you could take it down, but then the Gastrodon comes in, or either that or the Roserade, and takes down the Tyrantrum. You save your Mega Lucario and your Rayquaza for last. So you probably send out Kubfu. It would go down quick. Then you send out either Sock or Pangoro. You duke it out for a while. If you're lucky, you'll take down whichever one they bring out, which would then bring out the other one, because that's the order she usually throws it out in Roserade or Gastrodon. Even if you luck out there, she still has Milotic, Lucario, and Garchomp. I'll be honest, you're probably not getting past the Lucario, or sorry, the Milotic, before you have to bring out one of your big hitters. So Mega Lucario maybe comes out. Do you go Mega Lucario? Do you go Rayquaza? Either way, you're not very strong against Milotic here. Like you're not pressing an advantage. You got the stats, you just don't have the moves usually. So you probably put it down. Then she brings out her own Lucario. Mega Lucario could probably take it down, but then Garchomp comes out, probably takes down the Mega. So I'll say this: it's in the end, you stand a better shot at beating Cynthia, but I don't think it's a guarantee because there's a lot of what ifs and ands and ors in this scenario. So I would say it's a maybe. Maybe you could beat Cynthia. Then with Unova, you'll honestly have a clear sweep throughout the region in both games until you get to like Drayden and Iris, or in this case, Drayden and Iris in any version. Because remember, you got to keep them at their levels. Not like you're gonna have an over-leveled Rayquaza. And Marlin shouldn't actually be that big of a problem. But the Dragon typing, again, your Tyrantrum and your Rayquaza, as powerful as they are only going to be in their 40s. So that would be a struggle, but not an impossibility. You'll probably be able to make it through the Elite Four without too much difficulty. And then between Iris and Alder is a yes. I do think you'll beat him because even though you'll take down the Excelgor first with Tyrantrum, he'll most likely bring out like Vanillish or something like that, or Vanillux or whatever it was. Yeah, it's Vanillux. Or Druddigon to take down then the Tyrantrum. You can bring out a fighting type to take down the Vanillux. But then the Excavalier that thing's gonna let go hard for a while. The Buffalo will go down easy. It would ultimately come down to probably Volcarona versus your Rayquaza, and luckily you resist fire, so it would be tough, but I think you beat Alder. I sadly do not think straight out you beat Iris, because she has 3 highly powerful dragons on the team. She has Archeops, Aggron, and Lapras. Now the the Aggron and the Lapras should go down relatively quick, assuming you still have fighting types left. That's the problem, because she starts out with Hydreigon, which means as powerful as Tyrantrum is, that thing's going down. And then you got to figure out a way to get through that thing. You're probably going to have to go Mega Lucario early, which means then you're going to have to set up for a couple other Mon coming down the way. I don't think you're going to beat Iris, but it's not impossible. So it's a maybe. Then you go into Kalos, which again, your biggest problem, no joke, Valerie. Because it's all fit, she's got nothing but fairy. If you don't have something to deal with it, you are in trouble. It's. I'm not saying it's impossible to beat her. You'll have a full team at that point. But you basically, at that point, your entire team, save Mega Lucario, is weak to fairy. And any move you throw that's dark or fighting is going to get completely negged. And any dragon moves, they're completely immune to. With that said, if you get past her, you would actually be probably able to get through the Elite Four. The problem is Diantha. Hawlucha's going to go down no problem. Her Tyrantrum versus yours, hers might win out, but then you just throw out a fighting type and you're fine. The Aurora's is going down quick, but then the Goodra is tanky as hell. So you're going to be stuck on the Goodra for a bit. You're also going to be stuck on the Gourgeist for a while. And then the Mega Lucario, Mega Gardevoir comes out. A psychic fairy, meaning it's totally designed to take down this entire team. So I don't think you actually get past Diantha. So you can't become champion there. Galar, surprisingly, the only one where you would have trouble with the gym leaders is Opal. Again, fairy. And you wouldn't have, you should have a full team there, but still fairy. And then if you get all the way to Leon, Aegislash might take down the Tyrantrum. In which case, then you have to go Rayquaza or Pangoro at that point. The Dragapult's would take down a lot of your team, but you have Rayquaza this time around. Now, Dragapult out races Rayquaza, but you still would be able to, so it'll still be able to get damage in. Then Haxorus comes in. If that Haxorus gets one Dragon Dance off and starts just Earthquake or whatever, you're done. Like, at that point, nothing you're doing is stopping that thing. Even Rayquaza is not stopping that thing at that point. But I think you should be okay, because then he has, if I remember correctly, it's either a Seismitoad, a Mr. Rime, or I can't remember what the third one is. And Rillaboom, Cinderace, and Teleon, and his Charizard. It's not impossible, surprisingly, to beat Leon. You just got to bring down both the Haxorus and the Dragapult first. If you're able to do that and still have both your Lucario and your Rayquaza still intact, maybe one other Mon in reserve, like the Pangoro or something, I would feel confident enough to say, yeah, you should be able to win. That being said, the Mega Lucario is actually not well suited to go up against the Charizard, especially if it Gigantamaxes. So I will say it's a tentative maybe. Last but not least, though, Paldea. And the long and short of it is, yeah, you can become the champion of Paldea. Katie's a bug type, so Tyrunt's got the edge there. Even though it's a grass gym afterwards, you'll be fine with Tyrantrum being resistance. Sock's got a high attack power. Iono is a little problematic, but again, you'll be resistant to electricity thanks to Tyrunt. And so you should be able to handle her not too bad, not without too much issue. And after that, it's pretty much just constant, you're adding to your team, you're adding more members to it. You should be able to handle it fine. And then the Elite Four comes and you deal with Rika, who even with their ground types, they're all mostly pretty slow, so you should be fine there. Seal types, you're literally tailor-made for that. Flying, though, you are weak 3 times weak to flying on this team. You're the Mon that will not just immediately go down are Rayquaza, Lucario, and Tyranitar, aka your big 3. So, that's the best way to put it. Can you get past Larry beyond that? Yeah, you can. Despite the fact those first initial 3 go down, the rest would not be, in such a state. Then you got to deal with Hassel, who is a Dragon type specialist and has a Excalibur. So that's a little problematic. And has, Noivern, which, for example, is resistant to fighting. So you'd have to probably go either Rayquaza or Tyrantrum onto that. Dragalge is always a fun one, a little nuisance, but always fun. So yeah, I think he'd be a hassle. And then, you go into Geeta, and quite frankly, yeah, Geeta is not that big of an issue. I don't think so, anyway. She starts off, if I remember correctly, with either Gogoat or Epathra. And, I mean, if you need to switch out, you can go Pangoro into Epathra. Then Gogoat, you can just, beat down the Gogoat, honestly. King Gambit, it's ×4 weak to fighting. Avalog's weak to fighting. Veluza, you don't have necessarily, it's a psychic water for whatever reason, so it's a little problematic, but not much. And then Geeta's Ace is a rock type that turns into a pure rock type. So yeah, you can become the champion of Paldea, no problem. That, though, is just my thoughts. This is actually a pretty balanced team, all things considered, and a pretty solid team for a run. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.